Hello everyone, it's Jeff again. I am in the rolling hills of western Texas, and today I would love to tell you the story of a building. The building we are going to talk about today sprang up in the town of Mineral Wells, Texas. The story of our building begins in 1922, when the citizens of Mineral Wells, Texas got together and held a meeting and raised $150,000 to build a hotel in the center of their town to take advantage of their local mineral water. Not knowing anything about hotels themselves, they hired a man who they believed would be the perfect person for the job, as he already owned 3 very prosperous hotels. Theodore Brasher Baker. Baker already owned the prosperous Texas Hotel in Fort Worth and the Connor Hotel in Joplin, Missouri, and probably the most prosperous of all, the Baker Hotel in Dallas. Getting back to our building in Mineral Wells, the architect Wyatt C. Hendrick was hired. He had already successfully designed and built the Arlington Hotel in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and they figured that he would be the perfect man for the job. After construction began, though, it wasn't very long before they hit a snag. You see, our Mr. Baker had traveled to California and had stayed in a hotel that had an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and he decided that that's exactly what he wanted at his hotel in Mineral Wells, Texas. The only place the architect could figure out to fit an Olympic-sized swimming pool was over a section of already completed foundations for a garage. And by the time the pool was finished, it caused a 6-month delay in the construction of the hotel. The new hotel was called the Baker Hotel, Mineral Wells, Texas, and it opened to the public on November 9th, 1929. And it had a formal celebration, a grand opening gala that lasted 2 weeks and began on the 22nd of November. The hotel had a special water system that provided ice-cold filtered water to every room, and it also had something that no other hotel at the time in Texas had: air conditioning. The hotel had 15 stories with 450 rooms, and a convention center that could host 2,500 people, all in a town that had a normal population of around 6,000. The opening of such a grand hotel could not possibly have come at a worse time, because of the stock market crash in October of 1929, which happened a few short weeks after the opening of the hotel, and caused a worldwide recession that lasted until the beginning of World War II. The newness of such a grand hotel built in the otherwise barren cattle country of western Texas was enough to keep it going through the early 30s. However, in 1934, Mr. Baker was forced to declare bankruptcy. In 1934, Theodore Baker passed control of the hotel to his young nephew Earl Baker, who immediately said the only way they were going to ever save the hotel was if they could get the rich and famous to come and stay there. And the first person he talked to was Glenn Miller, who loved the hotel and became a frequent guest. Next, it was Lawrence Welk who was invited to be their guest, and while traveling on USO tours, he was a frequent guest at the Baker Hotel. As it was the only 5-star hotel in 1,000 miles, Clark Gable was a frequent guest, and also Judy Garland. Judy Garland stayed here many times in the 30s and 40s. And the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges were a frequent guest, but most of all, the gangsters, like Bonnie and Clyde. The Baker Hotel had a reputation for not asking questions as long as you paid cash, and there was lots and lots and lots of gangsters that stayed at the Baker Hotel. The local Army base, Fort Wolters, had a USO building that was quite large, and that kept a steady stream of the Hollywood's elite coming and staying at the Hotel Baker during the ramp-up for World War II and during World War II. Fort Wolters was an infantry training camp from 1925 to 1946. It also had a very large hospital for the treatment of returning soldiers and a German POW camp. After the war ended in 1945, Fort Wolters closed, and that was pretty much the end for the Baker Hotel. There was a brief renaissance in 1951 when Wolters reopened as a helicopter base, and in 1952 and 1955, the Texas Republican Party held their conventions at the Baker. And in 1954, the Texas Democratic Party held their convention at the Baker Hotel. But other than that, its fate was pretty much sealed. And when Earl Baker had a heart attack in 1967 and was found dead in one of the hallways, that was pretty much the end. The Baker Hotel, with its rooftop gardens and its grand ballroom, was left basically to be vandalized and forgotten from 1972 on. No serious thought was given to the Baker until 2008, when a group of investors came forward and said that they wanted to rehabilitate the old building. 2008 was really the first time the city said, we could clean this up, sweep up the debris, and maybe we could get someone interested in rehabilitating this wonderful old building. This is not the story of the death of a building. This is a story of a building that is being saved. This man, Laird Fairchild, a Texas billionaire, has purchased the Baker Hotel and is planning a $65 million renovation. There is a whole group of investors who have already begun the restoration of this fine hotel. William Clark Green recently wrote a song he called The Baker Hotel and recorded it and filmed the video in the lobby of the Grand Old Hotel. The renovation has already begun. The ceremony has already been held. The hotel has already been cleaned up and stabilized, and projected reopening is 2024. I leave you now back on the soft rolling hills of western Texas, right outside of Mineral Wells, Texas. Remember, everyone, be good to each other, do good deeds, think good thoughts, and I will see you again.